Okay, so is my screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So in the last class we have completed the demand management. Okay, so we have covered all these topics. Okay, so what is demand management? What are the different types of requirements we have? What are the different strategic groups and strategies we have? And what is make to stock strategy, make to stock production process? And under this make to stock, what are the different strategies we have? We have discussed some important strategic groups. Okay, similarly here also in make to order. Okay. So in this demand management, so is it clear to you, or do you have any questions or doubts before I'm starting this material requirement planning? Okay. So if you have any questions or doubts, let me know later also. No problem. Okay. This today we'll start with this material requirement planning. So the main concept of this material requirement planning, to make sure the material availability with the requirement quantity as per the requirement date. So that is the main objective actually. So to achieve that material availability with requirement quantity as and when it is required now. So what are the steps to be followed? What is the system design to be done from system perspective? As a technical, as a functional consultant, no, we should be knowing that. So actually here, once you run this MRP, right? We do nothing will we cannot say anything in the front end. Everything will happen in the back end. So that is the reason, no. So if somebody would have executed this MRP run as an end user or super user or whatever it is, so they don't know what is happening in the back end. So they will come to know that only they are going to run MRP. So in the back end, automatically some calculations will happen. Okay. So that whatever the calculations are going to happen in the back end of the system, no, as a consultant, we should be knowing how that calculations are being done, and how the requirement quantities are being calculated, and what are the different design steps to be followed. So those things now we will see. Okay. So that is a basic concept of this material requirement planning. So to design this material requirement planning, so we have to follow few steps here. So I will explain one by one. Under this, we have a concept of material requirement planning. What are the technical process of MRP run, and what are the prerequisites to run this MRP? What are the different methods we have, and what are the different process control parameters, and what are the factors influencing? And once we run MRP, so how do we analyze this MRP results? So all these things we will see. Okay. First, you tell me, as I told you earlier, right? So, come to system. So this is our finished product. So these four views are very, very important. What we are maintaining in this MRP 1, 2, 3, 4, and how the MRP will be calculated. No? So based on these settings, everything will be done. So what you understand from the screen? No? Can any one of you tell me? So what is MRP 1? Before I'm starting that MRP, why I'm asking this? No, once you understand this, then only you could able to understand the material that topic material. So now we are going to discuss in more detail this topic. So earlier I have told you when we are creating material master, I have told you at high level what is this MRP type, what is this lot size, what is this MRP controller, all these things. Now I have told you in the beginning at higher level. Now today in this material MRP topic, no, we are going to discuss in more detail. So that is the reason this I'm going back to here. This is what you understand this here. So what is this? This is MRP one view. So in the MRP one view, what we are maintaining here. So whether it is MRP relevant or not. Okay. And here, so what is the MRP control? That means who is responsible for this material planning. And lot size means, so do you have any idea? Do you remember what is lot size? This lot size is nothing but for how much quantity we are planning. So for example, after net requirement calculation, for how much quantity, whatever the shortest quantity is there, no? Whether do you want to generate procurement proposals, either purchase requisitions or planned orders. Okay. So to the exact quantity of this shortest quantity, then we'll have to go for this lot size EX. If there is any different lot size, that means your different procurement or procurement proposal quantity you are planning. No? So accordingly, you need to select this lot size. This I'll explain to you in more detail in the further session. This is what lot size. So here the whether this is a in-house procurement or external procurement. So in the procurement type, we define. And here now, what are the lead times for manufacturing? If it is in-house production material, what is the production time? If it is external procurement material, what is the lead time to procure it from the suppliers? This schedule margin key, this for now, just leave it as it is. This I will explain to you in more detail when we'll be discussing in production order execution process. Okay. This is very important. Huh? Just try to understand. So once you understand this 4 bits data, whatever the data we are maintaining here, so that especially at least no, you should be knowing the important fields. You need to know each and every field. Even no one knows the each and every field of the material master. It is very hard to difficult. Based on the requirement, we will come. So first try to remember the important fields. Here no, based on the strategy group. So whether we are planning for make to stock or make to order. If it is a make to stock, what kind of strategy group we are following. If it is a make to order, what kind of strategy group we are following. All these things. And this availability check also very important from material requirement planning perspective. That means no, in the earlier just I have told you only one thing. So in the net requirement calculation, I have shown to you. So the, what is that our demand quantity or planning quantity minus stock. But going forward, I will show you what are the other factors also will be considered to this net requirement calculation. In the net requirement calculation, I have told you only this demand management and stock. So what are the demand management, demand quantity you have minus the stock will give the total final planning quantity. But coming to this further discussion for further what do you call? So if you are going in depth, no. So we will consider other factors also. Those factors I'll show you what are other factors we will consider for this net requirement plan. Okay, so that data we will maintain here. And here this is a bomb explosion, bomb selection. This is completely different. For this is related to another manufacturing process, repeat manufacturing. For this, we have a separate topic. So we see this content, course content. For this repeat manufacturing, we have a separate topic. So that time I'll explain that one. So we have a separate topic for this. So that time we will discuss this. Just try to, when you're practicing also, just try to analyze this. Try to analyze this, why we are maintaining this data and what is the functionality of each and every field. Okay, just try to understand what are the values you are maintaining in this material cost MRP for which no. Just try to understand. Suppose if you don't remember what is the functionality of the strategy group available check, no, just place the cursor here and click on this help. It will give you some basic information. So what is the purpose of this available check or strategy group? So by looking at this is a kind of this is a documentation actually regarding that particular field. So why we are maintaining that value in this particular field and what is the purpose of this? So by looking at this now, you will get more clarity. Suppose if you don't remember. When you're practicing, just try to understand the functionality of each and every field. What are the field values you are getting? So then that would be easy for you to understand in more detail. And whenever we're going to discussing the further topics now, then it would be easy to analyze. Okay, it's very, very important. So now for this now, MRP run, I will take this strategy group as a 40. So already we have seen this, right? So again, I will show you this. So the strategy group is 40 means we need to maintain this consumption model. So this is mandatory. Why it is mandatory also already we have discussed, right? So do you remember why we are maintaining this? Why do we maintain the consumption mode? Any idea?
Like to define which type of consumption it is, backward, forward, or something.
Yeah, that is right. Okay. So what will happen if you maintain some backward forward consumption period now? What will happen? So it will consider the backward. If in case of backward forward consumption, first it will look for the backward period from current period to backward period. If there are any existing PAs are there or not. If there are any existing PAs are there, it will consume those existing PAs in the backward period. Okay. Suppose if the existing existing backward PAs are not meeting your, less than your sales at quantity, then it will look for the forward also. Is there any forward PR quantities there? If there are any forward in the forward period, if there are any PR quantities are there, it will the sales at quantity will be reduced from that PR. So that is the main objective. Okay. Just I'll show you once again. Why? Because right, that is very, very important. Once you understand those things now, so already I have shown the PPT, right? Let me show you once again, just to give more clarity. I am going back now. So if you understand this, so this is clear, right? Last time I have shown you. Next. So the backward consumption, what will happen? The forward consumption, what will happen? The backward forward consumption, what will happen? How the PERs will get. Okay. So is this clear, or still do you have any questions on that? If you have any questions or doubts, just let me know. Why? Because right, once you are able to understand this backward forward consumption, so during MRP run, no, how the PERs are getting reduced, why they are getting reduced, you will be able to understand. Do you want me to explain once again, or is this clear to you? Just let me recap this. Okay. So if suppose if the sales orders, the below this line is there, below these lines are sales orders, above the lines are PERs. Suppose if in case backward forward consumption, let us take first backward. So if I created sales order, this is, let us assume, current month. Okay. So if you create a sales order for current month, then it will look for the, is there any from current period onwards, is there any PERs exist, the backward period from current month to previous months. First it will look for the immediate current month. Suppose here no, there is a PR quantity is there in the current. Immediately this sales order quantity will get reduced from this. So as I explained earlier, suppose my PR current month PR quantity is 1500 example. Okay, so I have created a sales order for 1000. So then what will happen? This 1000 quantity will reduce from this PR quantity. The PR quantity will become 1500 minus 1000. It will become 500. Okay, and since still so the sales order quantity is already less than this PR quantity, it will stop here itself. The another example is my PR quantity for this June month is 1500, but I have created a sales order for 2000. Then what will happen? Immediately when it look for the current period, so my PR quantity is 1500. That means which is less than my sales order quantity. So that 1500 quantity will become 0. Okay. So that means the 1500 quantity is reduced from this PAR. The remaining 500 quantity, no. So then system what it will do, it will check for is there any PAR exist in the backward period. Suppose let us say there is another PAR exist in the memo for let us say some 500 quantity. So it will reduce from this PAR quantity. So this is the major functionality of this consumption, either backward or forward. Similarly, it will happen in the forward consumption. So if it is a combination of both, first it will, depending on here, backward forward means first you can see the numbering also. First it will look for the backward, then it will look for the forward. Okay. So this is a major functionality of this consumption. This is very important. Just try to remember this. Okay. So throughout this MRP process now, when we are discussing this strategy group 40, we'll have to keep in mind this. Okay. Is this clear or any doubts do you have?
Clear.
ఎందుకంటే మీకు అది అర్థమైతే త్రూఅవుట్ మన ఎంఆర్పి ఈ టాపిక్ డిస్కస్ చేస్తాం సేపు కూడా సో అరౌండ్ దాని చుట్టూ ఉంటుంది మాకు పెద్ద డేటా సో క్యాల్కులేషన్స్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్ విల్ హ్యాపెన్ అరౌండ్ దట్ కన్జంప్షన్. Okay, now we will see in this topic now material requirement planning. Generally we call it as a in short now MRP. Okay, just try to remember this terminology. MRP means material requirement planning. So what is the MRP, material requirement planning? What is the input output parameters? Okay, what are the technical process of MRP done? What is the planning file entry concept? How the net requirement calculation will be done, and how the BOM will get exploded during MRP done? What is the results after MRP done? What are the prerequisites for the MRP? So all these topics will be. So as I told you, right, the main objective of this MRP is to guarantee the material availability that is used to procure or produce the requirement quantities on time. This is the main objective of this material requirement planning. So actually it determines what material is needed and how much quantity is needed and when it is needed. Okay, so all these things will be calculated during this MRP. Okay, that is the main functionality of this MRP. Okay, so during MRP run, okay, system will calculate the shortage of the material requirement quantities for procurement proposals. And here now, this is the basic thing you need to understand. So I'll show you in the graphical representation also. For in-house production materials, system will generate the plan items. This is very important. So whatever the materials you are manufacturing within the plant now, for those materials, system will generate plan items. And for this external procurement materials, right, system will generate either plan items or purchase equations. That is depending on the requirement. So when do suppose generally this purchase equation by default, right, external procurement is means we'll have to go for external purchase. We'll have to go for purchase equations only. We don't need to have plan items. In S4 HANA, so we don't have this function directly. For the, if the procurement type is F, system automatically it will generate the purchase equation. This I'll show you at the end of the when we are going to discuss this S4 HANA topics, right? That time I'll explain to you. In ECC, we have two options. That is depending on the requirement. Either you want to generate planned orders or purchase equation for the external procurement materials. So this is a graphical representation. Okay. So here now, the input for this material requirement planning is demand management. So in the demand management, what we have done in the previous topic. So in the demand management, what we
have defined plan independent requirements.
We have
type of we have defined plan independent requirements.
The demand management, what we have done is we have created the plan independent requirements. Correct now? We have created the plan independent requirements. We have created sales orders. All these things we have discussed, right? When we have created, when we are discussing the type of production, no? So if it is a make to stock production, make to stock production process, we have created planned inventory requirements or sales orders also. That is depending on the status. Okay. So this is whatever the output is coming from the demand management. That is nothing but your final production planning. So that final production planning, either it could be a planned inventory requirements or sales orders or combination of both. So this is the input to run this MRP. Okay. So here what will happen, right? So whatever the PARs are planned, PARs or sales orders we have created now as a part of final production planning, with reference to that final production planning, system will run MRP. Once, as I told you, so based on the strategy group during the MRP run, the calculation will be happening. Okay. So here, for this, once you run MRP, system will generate planned orders, okay, for in-house production materials and purchase requisitions for external procurement materials. Okay, these planned orders further will be converted into production orders for production execution purpose. And whatever the purchase requisition got generated for the external procurement materials, those purchase requisitions further will be converted into purchase orders for procurement purpose. So here there is one more point, schedule lines. So from purchasing perspective, purchasing people, right? They will be they have some agreements with the suppliers. Instead of every time, no, they want to raise a purchase order. So the purchasing department, so some companies, no, they will follow some schedule agreements with the suppliers. Schedule agreement is it's a purely related, material management related. Just to understand what is the schedule line, schedule agreement, and all. No? Just I'm giving some heads up to you. So the schedule lines will be generated against the schedule agreement. Schedule agreement is nothing but the purchasing department generally what they will do with some suppliers, no, they will be having some agreement. So agreement in terms of for a particular period, either it could be monthly or quarterly or depending on the specific period also. So they will be having some agreement for some materials with the suppliers. They have to supply for X product so and so quantity for this period. For example, let us say for June month for X raw material, they will be having agreement to supply 1,000 quantity with the supplier. Automatically, so the supplier, right, every month, whatever the quantity they have as per their agreement, no, they will supply. They don't need to wait for this purchase order from the client. So that is called schedule agreement. From system perspective, okay. So once whatever the agreement they have, no, from system perspective, so whenever the supplier, as per the schedule agreement, if they supply that materials, raw materials to the client, no, so we have to receive those materials from in our premises. To receive those materials in our premises as a reference, we should be having some document. So that is called schedule lines. So for that, system will generate for such kind of materials, no, system will generate some schedule lines. Whenever the as per the schedule agreement, the supplier delivered that goods while receiving it in our premises, no, client premises, they will take this schedule line as a reference and they will do the goods receipt into the premises. So that is the main objective of this schedule agreements and schedule lines. This is not relevant to us, but as a consultant, no, having this knowledge, no, that is very important. Okay, is this clear here? So the main objective of this MRP is generating planned orders and purchase requisitions and schedules with requirement quantity and requirement dates. That is in short. Just try to remember this. Okay. So after MRP run, system will generate planned orders for in-house production materials and purchase requisitions for external procurement materials and schedule lines for schedule agreement materials. Okay. Is this clear or any questions or doubts? I'll take a pause here. If you have any doubts, just let me know. Okay. So I'll move further. So this is the technical process actually. So before coming to this technical process, now I'll just give an example in Excel. Let us take our Excel is it? So before moving into that technical process of MRP, right? Just I will go back to this demand management during what we have discussed now. So here what we have done. So can you just explain this? So here we already just I explained what is MRP after MRP, right? Planet will get generated. Can any one of you tell me what is happening here? The scenario one. Let us take simple scenario. If I created a PER, if I run MRP, what is happening here? So PER is nothing but what? It's our demand, right? So
Yes,
here what is happening?
it is
What
creating plan ladder for
you understand is tell me this.
according to demand management. It is
Hmm.
framework period. It's planning for plan ladders 1,000, 1,500, and
Exactly.
1,000 in
Yes.
scenario one.
Right. Correct. In scenario two.
Scenario two, it is developing sales order for 500,
Hmm.
and for other one, remaining one, it is developing plan ladders for 1,000 in June month.
So here also what is happening? No? So this is what you said, correct? This is also right. So here this is a straightforward scenario. Whatever the quantity we are planning, so for that much quantity, we are generating the procurement proposals. That is for planned system is generating the planned. So whereas here the second scenario, we have some customer orders also. It means sales order. So we are considering this sales order quantity also. Since we are using the strategical 40 in this example, as I told you earlier, right? Whichever is having higher quantity, either the PAR quantity or sales order quantity, that for that much quantity, system will do the planning. That means system will generate the planned orders. This is straightforward. The what we call the output of this MRP. But technically, what I have explained here is when as and when we created sales order, that quantity will get reduced from this P because of this trades group quantity. Okay. So here what is happening? So it is considering the PERs also and sales orders also, and whichever is having finally higher quantity, for that quantity, we are system is generating the planners. This is say scenario 2. Whereas scenario 3, stop. The scenario is the other way. So here also same, but okay. Here I did not consider extra. So let me take one more scenario. So all these 4 scenarios are clear to you, right? So here I will take one more scenario. I'll take some straightforward. So for now, my sales order quantity is also 0. Let us see. I'm not considering the sales order sales. So here, let us assume there is some stock available. So stock will be available at plant level. It is not monthly or this one. Okay. I have some stock. So this is at plant level. This is considerable for all the every month. Plant level, let us assume I have stock for some 600. Okay. So here, let me remove this all. First, I'll take from to get some clarity. First, I'm planning for this month, June month requirement. This is let us say another scenario. So in this case, right, if I run MRP, so what is my planned order quantity? As per your understanding. No problem. Just you tell me whatever you understand. It may be correct or wrong. Don't worry about that. Just tell me what
400.
you understand.
400.
Perfect. How this 400 is coming?
Because already we have stock of 600.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the one ideal scenario. Okay. Straightforward. I'm taking it. So I have created a sales order for 2000. In this case, we are using statistical part. Let us follow the statistical party. Okay. So as per this example, so what is the higher? Whichever is having higher quantity, first we will consider. Right. So out of these two, whichever is higher, sales order is
order.
quantity higher. 2500. So 2500 means out of these two, we are considering the planning quantity as a 2500 minus we have a stock some
600. Okay.
Then
1900.
okay. This is one scenario. So next scenario is along with this. Okay. This is my stock. So let us assume there is some production order exists. Production order exists for some quantity. Let us say some 200. Okay, why I'm adding this? This I'll tell you. Okay. Why I'm adding this production order? Right? So this is nothing but no. This we call it as a receipt element. Okay. So why I'm adding this? This I'll explain to you. Why I'm adding this production order as a 200 point, right? So already. The scenario is 7. So my planning quantity is 1000. So I have a stock already. I have stock some 600 already. Some production is in process, or it is already some production is created for 200. In this case, as per your understanding, what would be the planned quantity? This is practically
200.
200.
200. Okay. So how it is 200?
600 is already we have stock. 200 is in
200 is
progress.
already in
Production.
process.
Correct. 600 is already in stock. 200 is in progress. That means still we are producing. So that means total available quantity, it will consider both of clubbing these two. Okay. So these two minus this will become your shortage. That means you have to plan for 200. This is clear, right? So this is how the calculation will happen. So here I have considered only the stock. Coming to this scenario, I have considered some existing production orders also. So similarly, suppose let us say some planned order, some planners have been created, some old planners. Let us okay, that I'll tell you later, not now. Okay, till here it is clear, right? Okay, I'll take one more example now. Here, similar to above example, I have a stock for I have sales order for 2005. In this example,
1700.
1700. Yes.
very. This is what I'm expecting from you. Okay, if you understand these scenarios, no, then the concept is very clear. Okay. So I will show you the system one by one. And before that, okay, before running this MRP, these are all scenarios are clear, right? Now I will tell you how this calculation will happen from finished product to BOM level. So this is called technical process. In the back end of the how this quantity is, what are the calculation I have shown to you in the Excel now, how these things will happen in the system, I'll explain to you. If you look at this slide now, this is called technical process of MRP. Okay, if you see the steps wise, this is the first step, second step, third step, fourth step, fifth step, and sixth step. So these are the six process steps will be executed in the back end of the system. This we never seen on the front end. If you look at this here, the first step is it will check the planning file entry. This I'll explain to you what it is. Okay. And the next step is net requirement calculation. Okay. And the third step is procurement quantity calculation. And the fourth step is scheduling. And the fifth step is determine the procurement proposal. And the sixth step is BOM execution. Okay. So this I'll explain one by one. So here, why this BOM will get exported? Suppose we are planning at finished product, right? So when we are planning at finished product level, based on my finished product level, finished product requirement, what are the BOM components required? For those components also, I need to have a production plan, a procurement plan. Okay, so that is the reason during MRP run, system will consider the BOM of the particular finished product also. It will generate the requirement for the BOM components as well, not only for the finished product. So here what we have discussed, okay, this we have discussed at finished product level, for how much quantity planners will get generated. So once the planners get generated at finished product level, to achieve this target quantity of this finished product, as per the BOM, what are the components are required, like semi-finished product or raw materials. We need to have planning for those materials also, right? So to manufacture this finished product, so what are the sub-assemblies or raw materials are required, we need to either procure or produce. So for them also, we should be having some plan. So whenever we run MRP at finished product level, so based on this finished product requirement quantity, automatically by exploring the finished product bill of material, the next level, what else semi-finished raw materials we have, for those semi-finished raw materials also, the planning quantity will get generated. So that is the final step. Okay, why am I explaining this final step first now? So this is to make you understand the overall concept. These are nothing but no, how the quantities will be calculated, system will generate the procurement proposals, the dates will be calculated. This is the little bit in depth. This will be later. Okay, now as a part of first step in the MRP, when you start executing the MRP transaction MD02, first what system will check, right? It will check whether that particular material, whatever the bill of material items are there, right? For example, this is our finished product, right? Laptop is our finished product. Suppose, as per our example, let us take this last example. Let us take this sixth, this one. So as per this scenario, right? Here the stock is there. Also the stock also is. I'll take this scenario. Yeah. Let us take this fifth scenario. So as per our fifth scenario, here also stock calculated. So here also, so let us say my PR quantity is 1000. Since I have a stock for 600, I have to plan for 400 quantity of this finished product. Okay. To manufacture this 400 quantity of this finished product, okay, how much quantity of each raw material is required? That means bill of material components are required. 400, 400, 400, right? As per the BOM quantity, proportionately, it will calculate. So this is for one quantity here. For one laptop, this hard disk is required one quantity, keyboard is required one quantity, motherboard is required one quantity, mouse is required one quantity. Similarly, for manufacturing this hard disk and motherboard, these are the other components. So when we are planning after MRP run, my finished product, the laptop requirement quantity is 400. So manufacturing this laptop 400 quantity, how much quantity of each component, each component is required. This quantity also has to be calculated in the MRP run itself. This MRP run will be calculated, this quantities, the quantity for these components will be calculated proportionately proportionate to this finished product requirement. Okay, that is what I explained earlier. Here, system, how does the system know? Out of this, which material has to be considered into the planning, which material is not considered into the plan. Okay, so here what will happen, right? So once we run MRP, system internally, that is the technical part, system will generate one planning file. System technical, this is the technical part. This I'll show you the system, how it will be activated. Okay, so system will check this planning file entry, whether that particular material is relevant for planning or not. So that if the material is relevant for planning, in the planning file entry, we have some check boxes. So whether that material is relevant for MRP or not. So if that particular material is relevant for MRP or not, if the material is relevant to MRP, it will pick that material into the planning. If the material is not relevant to MRP, then it will not pick into the MRP calculation. So this is called planning file entry. This I'll explain in more detail. So here, if you see here, one by one I'll go. So I'll go one by one, all these things. So in this net requirement planning, suppose, first let me show you before explaining this slide. Let me show you the system. To see this planning file entry, there is a transfer code MD23. Okay, so MD21, MD20. Okay, so here you can see whether this material is MRP relevant or not. If you execute this one, here there are checkboxes. This is called planning file entry. So this is actually automatic. This we need to, when we are running MRP, this is the first step we need to activate in the configuration level. So based on that configuration, this is applicable for this materials. So this is a transaction code level. In the SPRO, first we need to activate that. If you go to customization, to see the customization, transaction code is SPRO. SAP reference IFG. Enter this production. So under production, there is a material requirement planning. So under this material requirement planning, master data. So here it's there is a planning file entries. Okay. So under this planning PL entries, no, this we have to activate. So here, no, activate MRP and set up planning file. This configuration has to be done first. By default, it will be there. We need to make sure that for that particular plan, whenever we created a plan in the system, by default it will be there, but we have to make sure that this MRP is activated for that plant or not. So our plant is 1000. Okay. For this plant, you have to make, as a consultant, we need to ensure that this checkbox is activated or not. Okay. Suppose in real time, no, whenever you created our own plants, no, we have to make sure that just by default it will get activated. But as a consultant, we need to make sure that go on cross check for the new plan whether this checkbox is activated or not. If it is not activated by any chance, we need to activate this. Okay, this is one thing, activating MRP. And second thing is set up planning parent. This also we need to activate. So here we need to create set start immediately. So we need to create a variant for the plant. So select this, and this is our plant. Continue. So this plant, save it. This is our plant. So this is how we need to activate this planning file entries. Save. So this is how we need to activate for this plant. So we are activating for this plant. First step, we have to activate this. This you want, you can schedule. Scheduling it's all not required. Okay, this activating this planning file entry is enough. Okay, once this is a basic first configuration step, we need to ensure this actually. So by default, these things will be there. If nothing is, if the checkbox material MRP is not activated, if this planning file is not activated, we need to ensure that these two also are activated. If they are not activated, we have to activate it ourselves. Okay? This is the first step we need to make sure from MRP perspective. So once we have done, as I shown to here, right? Whatever the material you want to run MRP, so whether this for this material, this is relevant to MRP or not. How do you know that? In the planning file entry, as a first step, you don't need to check every time. Okay. So initially, just to ensure that whether this material is a MRP relevant or not, just as a consultant, no, for one or two material, you need to check this. Okay. These checkboxes are there, right? Net change planning origin. If this any one of these checkboxes are activated, that means flagged for X. So that means this material is relevant for MRP. Okay. If I run MRP for this material, after MRP run, these checkboxes will be disappeared. That means that planning is already done. Once the planning is already done, the checkboxes will be disappeared from here. If any after MRP run, suppose if you make any changes, suppose let us say if you created new plan independent requirements or if you created new sales orders, if you make any MRP relevant changes in the material master, then these check boxes will get activated again. This I'll show you. Okay. First step, as a first step, I'll show you. So now this material is relevant for MRP by activating these two. So why these two checkboxes are activated, I'll show you. If you go to MD04, we have so much of data. So let me delete this. negative. One second, huh? Go. A 6,000 point. So let me run MRP. This I'm clearing the previous data because we have created for multiple months now. Now all the planners got deleted. Let me delete this sales order. Now this is a little bit clear now. Okay. So if I created, okay, let me change this. So which I'll change to 40 to 60. I got MD21. So already it is activated for MRP. So now if I run MRP, so if I run MRP, if I run MRP for the sales orders also to generate some packages. The planners got generated. That means for whatever the demand I have generated the MRP done. If I refresh here, the checkbox will be disabled. So that means the planning is done. Okay. So that means once your planning is MRP is completed, okay. So after MRP, these two checkboxes will be disabled. Suppose if you make any changes, in the sense, suppose if you increase your sales at quantity or if you created new pair, let us say, let me create another pair for this. That means I am making some planning related changes for this material. So once I created the pair for this material by using MD61, let me create some planning quantity for this month, July month 1000. Okay. So that means I am making some changes in the planning data. That means I am creating either you are creating a new planning data or either you can make some changes in the existing planning data, whatever it is. If you are making any MRP relevant changes, that means planning related changes. So after saving this checkbox will get active. That means again, there are some changes relevant. There are some planning relevant changes that happened again for this material. So whenever we run MRP, if the checkboxes are activated, then only for this material system will consider into the plan. Otherwise, it will not consider. So let me save this first. So after save this, what will happen? If I go to this MD04, I will see one more plan independent record. Okay, so now it seems to that is not saved. Okay, let me create some party for this 1000. So let us see what is saved. Now it's saved this. If I go back to this MD04, so now we'll see another plan requirements. One plan requirements created for this 1000 quantity July. That means we have created some new planning quantity for this. Okay. Now, if I refresh here, after MRP, what has happened? These two planning file entities got deactivated for this. That means that time after first MRP run, this material is not relevant for MRP. Now, again, I have created some planning data for this. That means there is some change in the planning. So if I refresh here, this planning file entries will get activated. These two checkbox will get activated now. Let me refresh this. So like this, no, if we make any planning related changes, after MRP run, these two checkboxes will be disappear. That means will be deactivated. If you make any changes based on the changes, again, this planning file entries will be activated. So for whatever the materials, this planning file checkboxes are activated, only those materials will be considered to the MRP. Okay. So that is the main concept of this planning file. Okay. This I'll explain in more detail tomorrow. This is the basic concept of this planning file. This I'll show you how this data. Just now I have shown you, right? If you see this slide, if any metal undergoes any MRP relevant changes, that changes are updating in the planning file entry. Okay, this is the planning file entry update. If any MRP relevant changes are happening after MRP, you can see here. Once the changes are updated in this planning file entry, again there is MRP run. Okay, so once this MRP run is happened, it will read. First, it will read from this planning file whether this checkbox is activated or not. If these checkboxes are activated, so during MRP run from this planning file entry, whatever the planning file entry is there now, from this data it will read. It will read from this planning file entry. Okay, whether that material is a MRP relevant, then it will run MRP and it will update. It will generate the planned orders or purchase requisitions. So once the MRP is done, okay, immediately this planning file entry it will reset. That means, as I told, right, after MRP run, these two checkboxes will be deactivated. So this is what here it is explained. So before running MRP, it will read from the planning file entry whether those materials are relevant for MRP or not. After MRP run, so it will reset this planning file. Reset means these two checkboxes will be deactivated. That means disappear. This is how now this planning file entry will work. This is very, very important. This is very, very important in the interviews also. So what is planning file entry? How it works? Is this clear or any questions or doubts? I'll stop here today. Okay, tomorrow we will continue from this second step, net requirement calculation and procurement quantity calculation and other things. So is this clear about this net requirement, planning file entry? Are any questions? Just let me know if you have any, not maybe not now, later also.
Yeah, it's clear, sir. But in SAP, if you go to display planning file entries, there
Come
you have
again,
shown
Santosh, your voice is breaking.
it's clear in SAP
Ah,
system. If you go to
okay.
there is two tabs, no, in display planning file entries. Net
These two, right?
change planning and net change planning harbor.
This is planning
What's
horizon.
difference?
Where?
Planning horizon. What is difference between those two?
No, actually there is no difference you are asking, right?
Yeah,
It
difference.
is net change planning for the total horizon.
Okay.
It is net change planning for the planning horizon. This I'll explain to you shortly. Shortly means in the upcoming topics, no? What these two, no? If I explain here, no, you may not be able to understand. Okay. So this planning horizon and all, right? This I'll explain. So whenever we are running MRP, no, MD02, here there are checkpoints. Processing case there. So when I'm explaining this topic, right, I'll show you. So here it is a NATPL, it is a planning horizon, or NATPL, sorry, NATCH is a total planning horizon, NATPL is a planning horizon. What is this two? No, I'll explain later. Maybe at this point of time, just try to remember this. These are the two checkboxes to be activated. Okay, this I will
Okay.
explain to you, and we will be discussing this. This is a big topic actually. This I'll explain in more. If you see here also, you can see it is an ATPL. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions or doubts?